In the auto camps of Kingman, Arizona in the 1930s, travelers heading west on Route 66 would gather in the evenings and trade information the way sailors once traded weather, and one subject came up more than any other. 28 miles ahead, between them and California, stood the Black Mountains, and the road over them crossed a notch called Sitgreaves Pass, 3,550 feet up, by way of the steepest grades on the entire 2,400-mile length of Route 66, and a stretch containing 191 curves in 8 miles. The guidebooks warned about it. The gas station attendants warned about it. Drivers who had just come east over it sat by the campfires and described it to drivers going west, and some of those westbound drivers, after listening, made a decision that sounds impossible for the main highway of the United States. They hired a local to drive their car over the mountain for them, and rode across their own journey as passengers, white-knuckled, in their own back seat. Others simply detoured, adding hours of desert driving to avoid 8 miles of road. Nowhere else on Route 66, not the Texas Panhandle, not the Mojave, not the Ozark Hills, did the Mother Road frighten its own travelers into surrendering the wheel. This is the story of why, and of what it was actually like, mile by mile, to take a 1930s automobile over the pass that an entire generation of American migrants feared more than any other. To understand the fear, you have to understand that this crossing was never meant for them. The road over Sitgreaves Pass, named for Lorenzo Sitgreaves, an army captain who surveyed this country in 1851, was a gold mining wagon road hacked through the Black Mountains to serve the boom camps of Gold Road and Oatman, where a 1915 strike worth $10 million had conjured a town of thousands out of bare rock. Wagon roads follow terrain the way water follows it, clinging, wrapping, switching back, because a mule doesn't mind a hairpin. When Washington stitched together the numbered highway system in 1926 and hung the sacred number 66 on the Chicago to Los Angeles route, the planners reached the Colorado River country and adopted the mining road as is, because it existed and the mines mattered. The result was that the most important highway in America crossed its final mountain barrier on an alignment engineered for animals, with grades the automobiles of the era could barely survive, and every single westbound vehicle, every truck, every tourist, every Okie family with a mattress roped to the roof had to take it. There was no other paved way. The mountain had a monopoly, and it collected. Now put yourself in the driver's seat, because the fear only makes sense from there. It is 1935. You left Kingman at dawn to beat the heat, crossed the long desert valley, and the Black Mountains have been growing in your windshield for an hour, a wall of dark volcanic rock with no visible gap. At the mountain's foot, at 2,268 feet of elevation, you reach Cool Springs, a stone-pillared mobile station with a cafe and cabins, and the attendant checks your radiator, tops your water, and looks at your brakes. And this is not a courtesy, it is triage, because Cool Springs is the last chance to fix anything before the climb. A few miles up at Ed's camp, a rougher outpost scratched into the slope, you can buy more water, and you do. Then the road tilts, and the world narrows. The pavement is thin and shoulderless. The curves arrive every few hundred feet, blind, walled by rock on one side and open to a widening drop on the other, with guardrails appearing only occasionally and inspiring limited confidence when they do. Your engine, working at full throttle in low gear in 100-degree air, begins to boil, which is why the climb is lined with the parked and steaming, hoods up, families standing in whatever shade the mountain offers. If you are driving an older Model T, you may now perform the pass's signature maneuver, turning the car around to climb in reverse, because the T's gravity-fed fuel system cannot push gasoline uphill to the engine on the steepest pitches, and so the grade fills with cars backing up a cliff road, drivers craning over their shoulders, which sounds like comedy and was, for the people doing it, closer to prayer. At the summit, at Sitgreaves Pass, someone in those years sold ice cream, a small stand of ordinary sweetness at the top of the most feared grade in transcontinental America, and travelers bought it with shaking hands and looked at a view that runs, on a clear day, all the way to California, the promised land visible from the exact place the road was most likely to kill you. Then came the part that was worse, the descent. The western side drops 915 feet in 4 miles into Oatman, and descending is where the era's machinery truly betrayed its owners, because mechanical brakes, rods and levers pressing shoes against drums, faded as they heated, and they heated fast, and a driver who rode them down the grade instead of grinding down in low gear could feel the pedal going long and soft with a mile of hairpins still below, which is how the gully beneath one particular bend accumulated enough wreckage to earn the nickname the Junkyard. Through Gold Road, the switchbacks wrapped so tightly around the mining works that longer vehicles could not swing them in one motion, and had to stop, reverse, and cut again, executing three-point turns on a mountainside with traffic stacking behind. And here the fear economy flourished, the strangest cottage industry on Route 66, local men who would, for a fee, pilot your car over the pass while you followed in the pilot's car, or simply rode as cargo. Teams of horses that would tow your automobile up the worst pitches, animal power rescuing the machine age, and the wreckers, always the wreckers, stationed like patient fishermen, whose business model was the mathematical certainty that the mountain would provide. For the Dust Bowl migration of the 1930s, this crossing carried a cruelty beyond the physical. These were families who had driven 2,000 miles on their last money, in trucks loaded past all sense, and the Black Mountain stood at the very end, the final examination after everything, with California literally in view from the top. Steinbeck put the crossing into the grapes of wrath because every migrant already carried it in their head before they arrived. The fear traveled east along the road faster than the travelers moved west. Some sold possessions to pay a pilot. Some crossed at dawn to spare their engines. Some crossed at night to spare their nerves, which was its own miscalculation. And nearly all of them, it must be said, made it shaking, boiling, terrified, and through, because the pass's genius as an object of fear was that it killed some and frightened all, and the survivors did its advertising. The end came with a date. Route 66 had been classified as vital to national defense, and a mountain crossing where loaded trucks regularly left the road was a strategic liability. So beginning in September 1950, Arizona built a 45-mile bypass through the level ground at Yucca, following the path the railroad had wisely chosen 60 years earlier, and finished it in 2 years flat, the fastest major highway project in the state's history, urgency being the sincerest form of fear. On September 17, 1952, the new road opened, and the traffic left the Black Mountains in a single day. Oatman and Gold Road withered, Cool Springs eventually burned, the pilots and the horse teams and the wrecker men found other work, and the most feared 8 miles on Route 66 became what they are now, a silent, spectacular relic. One of the longest untouched stretches of the original Mother Road anywhere, patrolled by the wild burros descended from the miners' abandoned pack animals, who stand in the middle of the pavement with the unhurried confidence of the road's true heirs. You can drive it today, and you should, because the fear is still there in fossil form. Take your modern car, with its hydraulic brakes and its fuel pump and its thermostat, up from Cool Springs' rebuilt stone pillars, past the site of Ed's camp, through the 191 curves to the crest of Sitgreaves Pass, and even with a century of automotive progress underneath you, your hands will find the correct grip on the wheel by about the third hairpin, because the geometry has not been softened by a single degree since 1926. Stop at the top where the ice cream stand stood. Look west at the drop into Oatman and the desert running to the river and California beyond, the exact view the migrants earned, and then go down slowly, in low gear, the way the survivors did, past the junkyard curve, through Gold Road's ruins, into Oatman, where the burros will inspect your bumper. 8 miles, 20 minutes. In 1935, it was the longest 20 minutes on the American road, the place where a whole nation of drivers met a mountain that did not care how far they had come or how little they had left, and either found their nerve or hired someone else's, and the pass is still up there, curves intact, monopoly expired, waiting politely, like an old fear you finally have the machinery to visit.